As the gentlewoman from Georgia, Ms. Greene, for questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In looking at the wall situation, the headline speaks for itself. DHS announces steps to protect border communities from wall construction. Yeah, I'll read that again. DHS announces steps to protect border communities from wall construction. I don't know who wrote this, but they probably should have been fired for writing that headline. That's pretty bad. Let's talk about walls. Walls are very important for most countries. There's many countries with walls. I have one article here that comes from earlier this month that says, talking about 65 countries have erected fences on their borders, also talking about walls, talking about security fears, widespread refusal to help refugees have fueled a new spate of wall building around the world. They include Israel's apartheid wall, India's 2,500-mile fence around Bangladesh, and Morocco's huge sand berm. So many countries around the world agree that walls are important in protecting the people within the country, protecting their national security interest. I'd also like to really praise President Trump's administration that the contractors completed most of the DoD-funded border barrier bollards by the end of December 2020 as scheduled. I'm impressed with that because I own a construction company and I love to see a project completed on time. They truly did a remarkable job, and it's unfortunate it's unfinished. In my district alone, we have fentanyl deaths, and that is what really upsets me. We've had many fentanyl deaths, but the El Paso sector, with the BOR El Paso sector, has experienced a significant reduction in drug and smuggling activities in areas where the border wall system was built. Most notably in two separate zones, apprehensions decreased by 60% and 81% from the beginning of fiscal year 20 to the end of it. So walls work and they protect people. We have 300 Americans dying a day, so I think having a wall to protect people from deadly fentanyl is the greatest thing we can do. Ms. Cooper, CBP has been on record affirming that the border barrier has been effective and allowed CBP to readjust their agents to more pressing areas. If CBP said that the border barrier system is effective, why did DHS cancel the border wall contracts on the first day of this administration?
I certainly can't speak to the policy decisions. However, I can certainly speak to those locations in which border barrier has been deployed historically and the success with which our agents have seen a growth in capability. As you mentioned, the El Paso sector. Currently, there's a GAP project, a Gaps and Gates project, that was approved by Secretary Mayorkas that has completed 68 of those gaps and gates. An additional 61 are ongoing, some of which are in the El Paso sector. In addition, with the FY20 and FY21 appropriations that Congress provided, CBP, will be able to go back and add the system attributes to the barrier that was previously constructed by DoD in locations, again, such as El Paso, that will provide for protection.
Ms. Cooper, can you tell me, I've got the Biden administration plans here. Does any of this include, these were many of the categories of things that they used the money that was supposed to go for the wall. They turned it into things like habitat fragmentation and wildlife impacts, restoration of disturbed areas, invasive species control and monitoring, erosion concerns, low water crossing, lighting and light pollution, border barrier removal or completion, not sure what that means, impact to cultural resources. This is a list of projects that the Biden administration decided to take wall money that was set aside and contract money, and they canceled the contracts to build the wall, and they canceled building the wall, and they took this money and moved it to things like erosion control and invasive species control. So with the new wall building or project that you're talking about, Are they still going to be addressing invasive species to protect our states and protect our border towns and communities? Or are they actually interested in building a legitimate wall that will stop the invasion into the United States?
As part of barrier construction, for as long as I've been working on barrier programs, which is about 15 years, we have had a long-running relationship with the Department of Interior to ensure that environmental resources are considered as a part of that barrier construction. What those types of projects that you just referenced are not new to this type of work, and in fact have been ongoing with every border project that I've been involved in.
Well, will protecting the land from invasive species, will that save the 300 Americans that are dying daily from fentanyl at all? I don't think so. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlewoman yields. The gentleman from California.